The restyling that happened in 2012 changed the list of officially imported GLK classes. The gasoline GLK 250 became the base for Russia, and the GLK 350 became the top one. The deformed version of the latter wore the GLK 300 nameplate, and only the diesel version remained the same. For the honor of cars running on heavy fuel, the only certified GLK 220 CDI, which had already been known for 2 years by that time, was blown away. In fact, the power unit under the hood of a potential GLK is the main distinguishing feature on the way from car to car, since any copy for Russia necessarily meant all-wheel drive, 4MATIC, and a 7-speed automatic 7G-tronic, although the original European versions of the GLK 200 and 220 CDI could have a mechanical box and drive only to the rear axle. At first glance, it is not surprising to drown in the variety of versions. But in fact, everything is easier. Mercedes-Benz is a fan of varying the output of engines through firmware, simultaneously selecting new indices. At the same time, the hardware of power units is often one. So it turns out that a couple of modifications account for a single engine. The GLK has no frankly problematic motors, but one should not count on an absolutely cloudless existence. On the pre-styling GLK 220 CDI crossovers, the fuel injectors are completely changed and the electronic engine control unit is reflashed. However, do not rush to be afraid of such a significant procedure. This difficult operation has the status of a service campaign and is free for the car owner. Alas, they don't always call for a replacement, but if you visit the dealer of your own free will, as a rule, they don't refuse. At the turn of 90-100,000 kilometers, the GLK 220 CDI sometimes upsets the breakdown of the pump, 15,000 rubles. Over time, seals lose their elasticity, causing coolant to leak. When buying, you should carefully examine the engine compartment for runny nose and snot. A more serious financial risk is the throttle valve of the same modification. If the warranty is over, the replacement will cost 250,000 rubles. Failures are not frequent, but still occur. It is not worth saving on diagnostics, regardless of the age of the candidate. If the 10/20th recovered from unsuccessful nozzles after restyling, then the rest of the accident centers are also relevant for cars under 3 years old. The pre-reformed Mercedes-Benz GLK 280, aka GLK 300, with a V-shaped 6 that produces 231 power and 300 Nm, internal code M272, requires a mandatory replacement of the intake manifold to 100 to 120,000 kilometers, 40 to 60,000 rubles. In the design of the assembly, plastic dampers are used, which lose their functionality under the influence of temperature and deposits. If the diagnostic sees an error, the replacement should not be delayed. Incorrect operation of the mechanism over time threatens with arrhythmia of the motor, and therefore, much more expensive. Since the 3-liter V6 of the M272 family can no longer be young, it is better to look for an option with a new manifold. The diesel modification of the GLK 350 CDI has a relatively archaic design. So, the V-shaped Turbo 6, 224 horsepower, 540 Nm, does not have a particulate filter. Unlike more modern diesels, this option is not burdened with clean technologies at all. A rare and, perhaps, the only failure is the engine flywheel. If the previous owner vomited from each traffic light, the iron may not withstand. Indirect symptoms of the disease are extraneous sounds, loss of dynamics, and uneven idling. But the pre-styling gasoline giant, GLK 350, is not convicted of sins at all. Due to low demand, there are no complaints about the 3.5-liter V6 on the forums. True, the vast majority of buyers are not particularly interested in this modification, which is a serf's matter. The new 350 was incredibly expensive, while the old one dooms it to serious expenses for maintenance, tax, insurance, expense. The same is true for the related Mercedes-Benz C350 W204. Much more popular is the post-styling GLK 250 M274. In Europe there is also a 204 horsepower version of the GLK 250 BlueTech. Extraneous sounds at startup are a sign of the main malfunction of the gasoline inline 4. The reason lies in the wrong position of the camshaft. As a result of operation, the system loosens and loses its ideal geometry. Usually, the disease manifests itself almost immediately and is eliminated with the guarantee. Therefore, if the selected option knocks, there is reason to suspect a much rarer, but serious malfunction, a crankshaft defect, leading to a complete replacement of the motor. If there is no guarantee, prepare almost half the price of the car. It is curious that similar knocks at idle are not uncommon, and at low mileage, and on a 3-liter V6, laid down by a restyled GLK 300 and GLK 350. They are also treated, guaranteed, therefore, most likely, the wheezing has already been eliminated. If not, you will need to independently replace the tensioners, rollers, and gaskets. Otherwise, the classic V6 with an adult volume is actually eternal. Technically, the GLK is deeply unified with the previous C-Class, W204. Formatic all-wheel drive transmission, similar to that of the S, CL, and C classes, with the exception of the off-road superstructure. On the ground, the ABS allows a quarter-second wheel lock, and the corresponding program will help to go down the hill. The node is a unity of mechanics with electronics. Center differential with freewheel, distributing torque between the front and rear wheels in a ratio of 45:55, mechanical side. The rest is the filling is already electronic. The transmission does not fuss over trifles, but if it starts. Fortunately, most GLKs rarely see serious off-road, which significantly extends the life of the entire structure. However, when buying, it will not be superfluous to listen. Extraneous sounds are the first signs of the beginning of big problems. A barely audible hum grows to serious proportions over time and signals iron wear, most often caused by low oil levels. The key to the health of the 7-speed automatic 7G Tronic is the same: periodic, every 60,000 kilometers, oil update inside. The chassis requires a lot of attention. The front shock absorbers often gave up already at the turn of 30,000 kilometers, but without talking they changed under warranty. The same fate periodically befell silent blocks and racks from 40,000 kilometers. Even for careful drivers, the suspension rarely travels more than 60,000 kilometers in its original form. The same applies to brakes. 50 to 60,000 kilometers is the maximum that you can count on. For active drivers, the brake pads wear out already by 30,000 kilometers. Discs go 10 to 20,000 kilometers more. They are not replaced under warranty. The new thing pulls on 5,000 to 20,000 rubles, depending on the spare parts and the place of repair. With a run of 50 to 70,000 kilometers, failure of the power steering pump is common. After restyling, the amplifier became electric, saving the GLK class from one of the serious and frequent problems. But the little things like a completely bursting washer reservoir and an incorrectly working Parktronic remain, but they are corrected under a guarantee, which at Mercedes is very loyal to the client. There are cases when, after contacting the Russian representative office of the brand, Mercedes-Benz Rus, the cracked upholstery of the chair was changed free of charge even on post-warranty cars. Meanwhile, interior materials lose their marketable appearance by 80 to 100,000 kilometers. The steering wheel trim is cracking along with the seats. There are complaints about the squeaks of furniture, fittings, and poor chip resistance. The square shape attracts road stones to the windshield, hood, headlights, and bumpers. Therefore, a GLK, even with relatively low mileage, can be cut with scars. At the same time, the quality of the paintwork and the resistance of the metal to corrosion are at an exemplary level. Rust forms in the rarest cases and entails warranty painting of the affected element. Alas, most used GLKs have already lost their factory defect insurance warranty, 2 years without a mileage limit. However, the previous owner could buy an extended service contract for 1 or 2 years, which provides for service from an authorized dealer at the expense of the client and warranty obligations from the manufacturer. Key competitors, including the Audi Q5, BMW X3, Cadillac SRX, Land Rover Freelander 2, and Volvo XC60, have nothing of the kind in their pure form.